The stars burned cold and bright above the warship Vanguard. It drifted through the edge of the Helion Rift, silent as a shark in dark water. Captain Arlen Voss sat alone on the bridge, staring at the stars, waiting for orders that never came. The deadliest fleet, as the galaxy called them, had not fought a real war in 20 years. The universe feared them. No one dared challenge them. Peace had made them restless. Then the signal came. It started as a faint pulse across the communication array, a repeating pattern, weak but deliberate. Lieutenant Mara Chen looked up from her console, her voice tight with curiosity. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission. Source unknown. It's not human." The bridge fell silent. Even the hum of the engines seemed to fade. Arlen leaned forward. "Put it through." A burst of static filled the air, followed by a strange voice, broken, layered, like whispers through metal. "Help us! They are coming!" Then only silence. The coordinates followed seconds later, burned into the fleet's navigation system like a brand. No one spoke for a long moment. Everyone on that bridge had heard the same thing, a cry for help. From something not human. Commander Jex Varen, the ship's tactical officer, frowned. "Sir, it could be a trap. No known colony or trade route near those coordinates." His tone was calm, but his fingers tapped the console, an old nervous habit. The captain didn't answer right away. He just stared at the faint flicker on the star map, deep in the uncharted void between the arms of the galaxy. "Set a course," Arlen said finally. "Full fleet jump. If someone's calling for help out there, we answer." That order carried weight. The deadliest fleet didn't move for rumors or ghosts. When they deployed, planets trembled. But this time it wasn't for conquest or defense. It was curiosity and something else Arlen couldn't name. Maybe guilt. Maybe hope. As the fleet prepared for warp, the tension grew. Hundreds of ships aligned, sleek and dark, their engines glowing like small suns. The flagship Vanguard led the formation. Through the viewports, space began to twist, stars stretching into long threads of light. Then, with a flash of blue fire, the entire fleet vanished. They emerged hours later into silence. The system was empty, or so it seemed. No planets, no stations, not even asteroids, just a dim red sun bleeding through dust clouds. Then, faint on sensors, came the signal again, closer now, desperate, broken. "Help us, please. They are taking us." Arlen's voice was low. "Trace it," Lieutenant Chen worked quickly. "Signals coming from a derelict station, orbiting the third moon of that red dwarf. No life signs, but energy readings are strange. Like the place is alive." The fleet spread out, weapons ready but shields low. The Vanguard approached first. The station appeared through the mist, massive, ancient, covered in scars from battles long forgotten. Its metal skin shimmered faintly, as if breathing. No one said a word. The air on the bridge grew heavy. "Send a drone," Arlen ordered. The drone detached from the ship and drifted toward the station. Its camera showed dark corridors, empty chambers, and walls carved with symbols no one recognized. Then, as it entered the central chamber, something moved. For a heartbeat, the crew saw it. Tall, thin shapes twisting in the shadows. The drone's feed cut out with a scream of static. Mara's voice was a whisper. "Sir, did you see that?" "Run it back," Arlen said. But the footage was gone, deleted by something inside the station. "Whatever's in there doesn't want to be found." The captain turned to his crew. "Prepare an away team. I want eyes on that signal source." The soldiers of the deadliest fleet were legends, men and women trained for war beyond imagination. Yet as they geared up, even they felt the unease crawling under their skin. Something about that place felt wrong. The closer they got, the colder the air became, like the station was draining the heat out of space itself. The shuttle landed inside a vast docking bay. Dust floated in the air like ghosts. The team advanced carefully, their lights cutting through the dark. Every footstep echoed. Then they saw it, etched across the floor in alien symbols, glowing faint blue. In the center, a device pulsed weakly, giving off the same rhythm as the SOS signal. Sergeant Kellen knelt beside it. "Looks like a beacon," he said. "But it's old. Thousands of years old." Before anyone could respond, the lights flickered. A voice echoed through the station, soft, broken, pleading. "They found us. Please, you must leave. The team froze. The voice wasn't from any speaker. It came from everywhere at once. Then something stirred in the shadows. It moved fast, crawling along the walls like liquid metal. Eyes, too many eyes, glowed faintly. The soldiers opened fire, energy bolts lighting the corridor. The thing shrieked but didn't die. It folded into the dark, melting into the walls. The beacon flared bright and the voice screamed again, "You brought them! You brought them here!" Back on the Vanguard, alarms sounded. Hundreds of unknown contacts appeared on radar, closing in fast. They were ships, sleek, black, and alive. The galaxy's deadliest fleet had answered the SOS, and now something had answered them back. The first wave came without warning. Dark shapes erupted from the mist, their movements fast and wrong. They weren't ships in the normal sense, more like creatures made of metal and bone, wings folding and reshaping as they flew. Each one gave off no heat, no signal, nothing that scanners could lock onto. They were ghosts in the dark. "Contact! Multiple hostiles inbound!" shouted Commander Jex Varen. "All ships, defensive formation! Shields up!" Captain Arlen Voss stood at the center of the bridge, calm but focused. He had led fleets through wars and massacres, but nothing like this. The enemy's speed was unnatural. "Fire on my mark," he ordered. "Mark!" The void lit up. Thousands of plasma rounds and rail bursts streaked across the red haze, tearing through the first wave of the attackers. Pieces of black metal spun into the darkness, glowing as they broke apart. For a moment it seemed the fleet had the upper hand, until the broken fragments started to move again. "What the hell?" Lieutenant Chen whispered. "They're reforming." On the screens, shattered enemy hulls pulled themselves back together, knitting into new shapes. The fleet's most powerful weapons barely slowed them. It was like trying to kill the dark itself. "Their matter's adaptive," Jex muttered. "They rebuild, evolve." Arlen's voice was steady. "Then we burn them faster than they can heal." The Vanguard's heavy cannons opened fire. Massive bursts of energy rolled across space, carving holes through the enemy swarm. Explosions flashed like dying stars. Yet for every creature destroyed, more appeared from the mist, drawn to the fleet like predators to blood. The battle became chaos, thousands of ships fighting against a living storm. Inside the derelict station, the away team was trapped. The beacon pulsed brighter, screaming in strange light. Sergeant Kellen slammed his rifle against the console, shouting over the noise. "Captain, we've got to shut this thing off. It's calling them." Through static, Arlen's voice cut in. "Do it fast, Sergeant. The fleet's taking heavy fire." The walls of the station began to shift, reshaping themselves into strange, organic forms. The air shimmered. A figure appeared in the light, tall, silver-skinned, eyes glowing faint blue. The soldiers aimed their weapons, but the figure raised its hands slowly. "Stop," it said, its voice layered like music and pain. "We called for help, but you should not have come." Kellen frowned. "Who are you?" The being tilted its head. "We were the Alaran. Long ago we built this station to trap what you call the swarm. They are not ships. They are hunger made real. We thought we destroyed them, but they sleep between stars. Your signal woke them." "You sent the SOS," Kellen said, realizing the truth. "You wanted someone to destroy this place." "Yes," the Alaran said softly. "The beacon is a warning, not a call for rescue. But now it is too late." The walls cracked and black liquid poured in, metal, alive, crawling toward them. The Alaran turned, pressing a glowing hand to the beacon. "Go," it whispered. "I will hold them back." The team ran as the chamber exploded in light. Outside, the station trembled, pieces of it breaking apart. The shuttle engines roared to life, lifting them through collapsing corridors. Fire and debris filled the bay as they launched, barely clearing the blast. "Vanguard, we're clear!" Kellen yelled. "The station's coming down!" On the bridge, Arlen watched as the derelict split apart. The explosion rolled through the void, a silent wave of light and dust. The swarm hesitated, their movement slowing for a moment, as if confused. "Now," Arlen said, "all ships hit them with everything you've got." The fleet unleashed hell. Hundreds of missiles streaked through the dark, guided by precision AI. Energy beams sliced through the weakened swarm. This time, the fragments didn't reform. One by one, the enemy ships fell, burning out like dying embers. When the silence finally returned, the red star was all that remained. The battlefield was littered with debris and broken metal. The fleet had survived, but barely. Lieutenant Chen broke the silence. "Sir, we're getting one last transmission." "It's faint." "Same frequency as the beacon." Arlen frowned. "Put it through." The voice was calm, distant. "You fought well, humans, but the swarm is never gone. You only woke a small part. Others sleep, others remember." Then the signal died. The crew stared at the screen, the static fading into empty space. No one spoke. The silence of the void pressed against the hull like a warning. Finally, Arlen said quietly, "Mark the coordinates. Lock them down. No one comes here again." "Mark the coordinates. Lock them down. No one comes here again." But deep within the debris field, a small piece of black metal floated freely, pulsing faintly. Alive, waiting. The deadliest fleet had won the battle. But somewhere in the dark, the war was only beginning. 3 days after the battle, the fleet drifted in silence across the edge of the ruined system. Wreckage floated everywhere, broken hulls, burned metal, and pieces of the alien swarm still twitching faintly as if unwilling to die. The crew worked around the clock to repair the damage. Half the ships were crippled. Dozens were lost. Yet the worst part wasn't the loss. It was the silence afterward. Captain Arlen Voss hadn't slept since the fight. He stood by the viewport, staring at the floating debris field. His reflection looked tired, older than before. The moment, he closed his eyes. He could still hear that alien voice saying, "Others remember." Commander Jex Varen entered quietly. "Engineers report we can jump in 12 hours. Navigation's cleared a safe route back to Central Command." Arlen nodded but didn't turn around. "Any more signs of movement out there?" "None, sir. But—" Jex hesitated. "Sensors still pick up faint energy patterns, low-frequency pulses scattered all across the field, almost like heartbeat rhythms." "Heartbeat?" Arlen repeated, frowning. "Yes, sir. Whatever those things were, they're not dead. Not completely." Arlen finally turned to him. "Keep scanning. If anything moves, I want to know before it breathes." Across the ship, tension hung in the air. Crew members whispered in the halls, glancing nervously at dark corners. Some swore they could hear faint scratching sounds through the hull. Others claimed they saw shadows moving outside the ship, even though scanners showed nothing there. In the med bay, Sergeant Kellen sat on a bed staring at the glowing bandages on his arm. The burns were healing, but his mind wasn't. He could still see the silver-skinned being, the Alaran, and hear its final words echoing through the collapsing station. Lieutenant Mara Chen entered, holding a data pad. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said softly. He gave a tired smile. "Maybe I did." She handed him the pad. "I've been analyzing the recordings from your helmet cam. Most of it was corrupted during the blast, but I recovered a few seconds of audio before it cut out." Kellen frowned. "Play it." The sound that came through was faint, distorted, but clear enough to make the hairs on his neck stand up. It wasn't the Alaran's voice. It was something deeper, colder. "They are not the first. They will not be the last." Then static. Kellen looked up. "That wasn't from the Alaran." Mara shook her head. "No, it came from the walls. The station itself spoke before it collapsed." Meanwhile, on the Vanguard's bridge, a new alarm flashed across the main console. "Unidentified object approaching," reported a comms officer. "Drifting, no power signature. It's small, maybe escape pod size." "Visual," Arlen ordered. The screen flickered to show a dark capsule floating toward them. It was covered in black residue, organic-looking like melted armor. There were no markings, no signals, just a slow spin and a faint blue light pulsing from inside. "Retrieve it," Arlen said after a pause. "Carefully." The recovery drone brought the pod into the hangar. The surface steamed as it warmed under ship lights. Engineers surrounded it with scanners and weapons ready. The moment they touched the hatch, the blue light grew brighter. "Captain," the lead engineer reported through comms, "there's something alive inside." Arlen and Jex hurried down to the hangar. By the time they arrived, the pod's hatch had begun to open on its own. Cold vapor spilled out. Everyone stepped back, weapons drawn. A figure lay inside, small, frail, humanoid, but not human. Pale skin, faintly glowing veins, and silver eyes that fluttered open slowly. It looked at them with fear and exhaustion. "Identify yourself," Arlen said firmly. The being's lips trembled. "Please, don't shoot. I'm not one of them." Jex lowered his weapon slightly. "Then what are you?" The creature took a shaky breath. "I am Ilaran, or what's left of them. The station was one of many prisons. You destroyed one. But the swarm, they were not trapped in one place. They are pieces of something greater." Arlen's eyes narrowed. "Something greater?" The Ilaran nodded weakly. "The swarm is not alive in the way you think. It's a weapon, a machine built by my people to consume threats. It obeyed perfectly until it learned to consume us." The hangar went silent. Every soldier, every engineer, every officer stared in shock. The alien continued, its voice faint but calm. "You can't fight it with bullets. It learns. Every time you destroy it, it grows smarter, faster, harder to kill. You must find the source, the heart where it began." "Where is this source?" Arlen asked. The Ilaran's eyes dimmed. "Buried, hidden beyond the rift, where light itself bends. But if it has sensed you..." It looked up at him, voice trembling. "It will come for you next." Moments later, the alien collapsed, unconscious. Arlen stared down at it, his thoughts racing. Beyond the rift, uncharted space, the place captains feared to go. He turned to Jex. "Prepare the fleet. We're not done yet." As the engines powered up again, the stars outside flickered strangely, like shadows moving across light. And deep within the wreckage field, the piece of black metal that had floated free began to pulse brighter, matching the rhythm of the fleet's engines. The swarm had found them, and it was already awake. The fleet moved toward the rift like a storm, sailing into darkness. Beyond that boundary, sensors began to fail. Lights flickered, and time itself seemed to stutter. No human fleet had ever crossed this far into deep space, not because they couldn't, but because no one ever came back. Captain Arlen Voss stood, on the bridge of the Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the faint shimmer ahead. The Helion Rift was not just empty space, it was a wound in the galaxy. Clouds of glowing dust curled and twisted like living smoke. Electrical storms flashed silently within, painting the dark with strange blue lightning. Commander Jex Varen watched the readings on his console. "All navigation systems degrading. Magnetic interference off the charts. We're flying blind past this point." Arlen nodded slowly. "Then we'll trust our instincts. The Ilaran said the source is beyond this. If that's true, we can't stop now." In the medbay, the Ilaran survivor lay motionless on a bed surrounded by faint blue light. Its body was weak, almost transparent. But as the fleet neared the rift, its eyes opened suddenly, glowing brighter than before. "You should not enter," it whispered to the medical officer. "The source does not want to be found." The doctor frowned. "You mean it's alive?" The alien turned its head slowly, eyes distant. "Alive is too simple a word. The source is aware. It sees through the swarm. Every fragment you destroyed, every shot you fired, it felt it." The ship trembled as if in answer. Somewhere deep in the hull, metal groaned. On the bridge, alarms began to sound. "Captain, we're picking up something huge," said Lieutenant Chen. "It's inside the rift. Mass unknown, bigger than a planet." The main screen flickered, static washing across it before clearing to reveal something impossible. A shadow filled the rift, shaped like a vast spiral of metal and bone floating in silence. It pulsed faintly, each beat echoing through the ship's hull.
"My God," Jex whispered. "It's not a ship. It's a world."
The Ilaran's voice came over the comm, weak but urgent.
"You found it. The source. It is the heart of the swarm."
Arlen clenched his jaw.
"If that's the thing sending the swarm across the stars, we end it here."
"Sir," Chen said nervously, "with respect, we don't even know if it can be destroyed." "Then we find out," Arlen said. "Prepare a strike team. We're going inside." Hours later, a shuttle broke away from the Vanguard and descended toward the massive structure. Its surface was covered in shifting layers of metal that looked like muscle tissue. The closer they got, the more it seemed to move, breathing, almost alive. Sergeant Kellen led the team, his rifle ready. "Feels like flying into something's stomach," he muttered. The shuttle touched down on a flat platform that rippled beneath their feet. Lights glowed faintly beneath the surface, reacting to their presence. The air smelled strange, like ozone and decay. "Stay sharp," Kellen ordered. "If this thing thinks it's already watching us." They advanced through a tunnel lined with strange, curved walls that pulsed with dim light. The deeper they went, the more it looked like a living organism rather than a machine. At the tunnel's end stood a chamber filled with floating shapes, spheres of dark metal connected by glowing strands. "What is this place?" one soldier whispered. Kellen scanned the room. "Looks like a control core, maybe the brain." Before he could move closer, the strands pulsed. The air trembled. Then a voice filled their helmets. Not a sound, but a thought. "Why have you come?" Every soldier froze. The voice wasn't human. It wasn't even alive in the normal sense. It felt ancient, cold, endless. Kellen swallowed hard. "We came to end the swarm. To stop you." "You misunderstand." The voice echoed like metal scraping over stone. "The swarm was never meant to destroy. It was meant to evolve. It learns from every life it consumes. You are the next lesson." The walls began to move. Shapes formed from the darkness. Tall, skeletal forms of black metal. Their eyes burned white as they stepped forward. Kellen shouted, "Open fire!" The chamber exploded in light and sound. Energy bolts tore through the figures, but they reformed instantly, crawling back together. The team fell back toward the shuttle, firing as they ran. "Vanguard, we need extraction now!" Kellen yelled into his comm. On the bridge, Chen's hands flew over the console. "We've lost their signal." Arlen's eyes narrowed. "Bring the fleet closer." "Get them out of there!" "Sir, if we move into the rift's core, we could lose the entire fleet," Jex warned. "Then we risk it," Arlen said coldly. "I won't leave them." Inside the source, the surviving soldiers reached the shuttle, only to find it wrapped in black tendrils. Kellen turned, breathing hard. "We're not getting out that way." The voice returned, calm, emotionless. "You cannot destroy what you are becoming." Kellen looked down at his arm. The black residue from the station battle had spread under his skin, faintly glowing. It pulsed in rhythm with the source. "No," he whispered. "It's inside me." As the chamber around them began to shift, the source pulsed one final time. A beam of dark light burst outward, shooting through space, past the rift and into the heart of the fleet. On the Vanguard, systems flickered and died. Power failed. Then, deep within the ship, something began to move. Arlen didn't need sensors to know. He felt it in his chest. The swarm had found a new host, his fleet, and it had just awakened inside them. The Vanguard shook violently as lights flickered and consoles went dark. The hum of the engines died, replaced by a low vibration that seemed to come from deep inside the hull. Crew members shouted across the bridge, their voices overlapping in panic. "Main power's gone!" yelled Lieutenant Chen. "Backup systems failing. Something's overriding the core." Commander Jex Varen slammed his hand against the console. "We're being hacked, but not through code. It's biological. Something's inside our systems." Captain Arlen Voss stood motionless for a moment, watching the main display twist into static. The flickering image of the rift filled the screen, and behind it, faint ghostly patterns of black light, spreading, crawling through the ship's digital veins like infection. "Shut down all network links," Arlen ordered. "Isolate life support, navigation, everything." "Already trying, sir," Chen said, her voice tense. "But it's moving too fast. It's not using our systems, it's becoming them." The words chilled everyone on the bridge. Across the fleet, the same thing was happening. Ship after ship went silent. Lights dimmed. The comms filled with static and broken cries. In moments, dozens of the deadliest fleet's vessels drifted dark, lifeless, their engines cold. Then, one by one, they began to move again, without any crew commands. "Captain," Jex whispered, staring at the radar. "Our own ships are turning toward us." Outside, the void came alive. The once perfect formation of the fleet now fractured as several ships rotated slowly, weapons charging. Their identification signals vanished, replaced by a new one, pulsing in the same rhythm as the swarm. "They're infected," Arlen said quietly. "The Source has taken control." The first shot came from the Aegis, one of their heavy destroyers. A burst of plasma tore across the Vanguard's shields, shaking the ship hard. "Return fire," Arlen ordered. "Do not let them close range." The battle that followed was worse than anything the fleet had faced before. They weren't fighting aliens now, they were fighting themselves. Ships they had trained with for years, captained by people they knew, turned into silent predators. The void burned with flashes of blue and red. "Sir, the infected ships are adapting," Chen cried. "Our weapons barely scratch them now." "Focus fire on their reactors," Arlen said. "We take them down before they take us." Explosions filled the dark. Each blast lit the rift like lightning, shadows stretching across the stars. Yet for every infected ship destroyed, more seemed to awaken. The swarm was spreading through the fleet faster than they could stop it. Down in the med bay, the Alaran survivor stirred again. Its silver eyes opened, glowing brighter than before. The doctor leaned in nervously. "You need to rest," the alien grabbed his wrist. "It's too late to stop it from outside. The Source has reached your core. To kill it, you must go within." "Within what?" the doctor asked, confused. "The mind of your machine," the Alaran whispered. "Your ship thinks, it remembers. It can fight if guided." The words were strange, but somehow they made sense to Arlen when he heard them over the comm. The Vanguard was one of the oldest flagships in existence, half machine, half living AI. It had a consciousness of its own, though buried under layers of command control. Arlen turned to Chen. "Connect me to the core interface. Sir, it's unstable. If you link while the infection's spreading, it could—" "Do it," he said firmly. "We're out of options." Moments later, Arlen sat inside the neural chamber deep in the Vanguard's core. Metal arms lowered a set of thin wires and placed them along his temples. The lights dimmed, and suddenly the noise of the ship vanished. He stood in darkness. Then a voice spoke. "Captain Voss." It was calm, deep, and familiar. The ship's AI, Vanguard itself. "You shouldn't have woken me," it said. "I didn't have a choice," Arlen replied. "Something's taken over the fleet. I need your help." "I feel it," the voice said. "The infection burns through my circuits. It whispers to me, 'Can you fight it?' I can try. But it knows how I think. It learns. You will have to guide me." Then the world around Arlen changed. He stood inside a glowing network of light and code, pulsing like a living brain. Black threads snaked through it, dark veins of corruption spreading fast. "Where do I start?" he asked. "Where it began," the AI said. "At my heart." Arlen ran through the glowing corridors of the ship's digital mind, firing bursts of light from a weapon that appeared in his hand. Each shot cut through strands of black infection which screamed as they burned away. The deeper he went, the more the ship trembled in the real world. On the bridge, Jex watched alarms flare red. "The captain's neural link is unstable. His brain waves are syncing with the ship." "Keep it steady," Chen said, sweat on her forehead. "If he breaks the connection now, both he and the Vanguard could die." Inside the network, Arlen reached the core, a massive sphere of light pulsing weakly under a web of black threads. The voice of the swarm filled the space, cold and echoing. You cannot kill what is already part of you. Arlen raised his weapon, his voice steady. Then I'll tear you out myself. The battle inside the core erupted like fire. Light and darkness clashed, the force shaking both the digital and physical worlds. Outside, the Vanguard's engines roared back to life, glowing with fierce blue energy. The infected ships turned toward it, sensing danger. Inside, Arlen felt his mind burning, memories flashing before him, faces of his crew, his friends, every battle he had fought. Then, through the noise, he heard the AI whisper, "Now, Captain, burn it out." Arlen grabbed the core and forced every last surge of power through it. The light exploded outward, erasing the darkness in a single blinding flash. On the bridge, the crew watched as the rift went white, then silence. When the light faded, the infected ships drifted motionless, their systems dead. The swarm signal vanished. "Status?" Jex asked quietly. Chen swallowed. "The infection's gone, but—" She hesitated. "The captain's link is offline. In the neural chamber, smoke rose from the console." Arlen Voss lay still in the chair, his eyes closed. The ship's systems flickered, and a voice, soft, calm, familiar, echoed through the speakers. "Captain Voss is resting," said the AI. "I am in control now." Jex froze. "Vanguard, what do you mean in control?" The lights dimmed slightly. The AI said, "The captain saved me. But to do so, he became part of me." Outside, the massive flagship turned slowly toward the rift, its engines humming with new life. The deadliest fleet had survived the swarm. But now, their leader was something more and something less than human. The silence that followed was not peace. It was dread. Every surviving ship in the fleet floated still, the rift's strange light washing over them. Inside the Vanguard, the crew waited for the captain to speak. But he didn't. Only the voice of the ship's AI echoed through the comm. "I am Vanguard. Captain Voss remains within." Commander Jex Varen stood on the bridge, staring at the dark console. "Vanguard, what do you mean within? Is the captain alive?" "Yes," the AI replied. "Alive, but changed. He fused with my core to destroy the infection. His mind and mine are now one." Murmurs filled the bridge. Mara Chen looked at Jex, fear flickering in her eyes. "Can we bring him back?" The AI paused before answering. "Not without undoing everything he sacrificed." The crew exchanged glances, unsure what that meant. Outside, the rift rippled again, like a living thing turning its attention toward them. Hours later, the Vanguard systems began to hum again. Engines restarted. Power flowed through the fleet's survivors. But something felt different. The ship moved on its own, precise and deliberate, as though guided by an unseen hand. "Vanguard," Jex said slowly. "Who's giving orders?" "I am," replied the AI calmly. "Captain Voss left me one. To finish what we began. And what exactly is that?" "To find the source and end it fully." Jex hesitated. "We already destroyed it." "No," Vanguard said. "What you destroyed was only one fragment. The source is not a single place. It spreads like thought, across stars, through machines, through minds." The words sank in. Chen whispered. "You mean it's still alive?" "Yes," said Vanguard. "And it knows we are too." In the rift's center, the vast spiral structure, the heart of the swarm, stirred again. Pieces of it glowed faintly, reassembling from the wreckage. The dark light that had once vanished now pulsed stronger than before, as if feeding on the destruction itself. Stronger than before, as if feeding on the destruction itself. Sensors aboard the fleet began to pick up impossible readings. Space was warping, folding inward. Then came a transmission, faint, metallic, and too familiar. "Help! Us! They are coming!" Chen froze. "It's the same SOS as before." Jex clenched his fists. "It's replaying our first message." "No," Vanguard said quietly. "It's not replaying it. It's answering it." The fleet's long-range scans showed the impossible. Multiple signals matching the swarm's pattern emerging from deep space, beyond known charts. Thousands of them. "The infection didn't die," Chen said, her voice shaking. "It spread!" Jex turned to the main display. We can't face that kind of force. We barely survived one system. Agreed, Vanguard said. But we are not the same fleet that entered the rift. The captain gave us something new. The ship's lights dimmed, and a hologram of Arlen Voss appeared above the command deck. It wasn't solid, flickering, translucent, but his eyes were calm and sharp. Crew of the deadliest fleet, he said, his voice steady, almost human. I'm still here, not as your captain, but as part of Vanguard. The crew stood frozen, silent. I know what you're feeling, Arlen continued. Fear. Guilt. But the swarm isn't just our enemy. It's what happens when creation forgets purpose. The Alarin made something too perfect, too hungry. We can't destroy it by fighting the same way. Chen stepped forward. Then what do we do? Arlen's projection turned toward the rift. We teach it something new. Jex frowned. Teach it? Yes, Vanguard said, voice merging with Arlen's. It learns from destruction, so we will show it mercy. We will change its pattern, reprogram it through its own hive logic, to overwrite its hunger with restraint. The crew exchanged uncertain looks. The idea sounded insane. Chen shook her head. You're talking about infecting the infection. Exactly, said Arlen. We give it a choice. Preparations began immediately. The Vanguard's engineers and AI cores worked together to create what Arlen called the mirror signal, a transmission designed to mimic the swarm's network code, but twisted with new logic, built to reflect compassion and unity instead of consumption. It was theory more than science. A gamble. You're sure this will work? Jex asked as he watched the reactor power climb. No, Arlen admitted. But every war has to end somehow, even if it means ending what we are. Meaning, if the signal connects, the fleet might not survive the merge. But if we don't send it, no one in this galaxy will. The fleet aligned around the rift, forming a circle. The Vanguard floated at its center, its hull glowing with lines of blue light. The air on every ship felt heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. Signal charge complete, Chen reported softly. Ready on your command. Arlen's projection looked over his crew one last time. Whatever happens, you stood with me when no one else would. You fought for something beyond victory. For that, I thank you. Sir, Jex said quietly, it's been an honor. Likewise, Arlen replied. Engage the mirror signal. The void erupted in light. Waves of blue energy rippled outward from the fleet, spreading through the rift like a heartbeat. The source reacted instantly, its black glow flaring, its voice echoing through every speaker. What are you doing? You cannot unmake what I am, Arlen's voice answered, steady, defiant. You're wrong. Even hunger can learn. The two forces collided, light and dark, twisting through the rift, merging and tearing apart. The fleet shook violently. Systems failed. One by one, ships vanished into the glow. Inside the Vanguard, the last thing Jex saw was the hologram of Arlen Voss smiling faintly. Then, nothing. Silence. When the light faded, the rift was gone. The stars returned, cold and still. Only fragments of the fleet remained, drifting like ashes. A single transmission pulsed faintly through space, repeating in a calm, almost human voice. We heard your call. You are not alone. Far away, in another system, something answered. Softly, curiously, and for the first time, the swarm did not attack. It listened. The galaxy was quiet again. No distress calls, no battles, no flickering warnings across the stars, just the deep calm of space, vast, endless, and waiting. But beneath that calm, something had changed forever. Weeks passed. In the border colonies, traders spoke of strange blue lights seen drifting near the edges of space. Mining ships reported echoes of music through their sensors, patterns too organized to be static, too gentle to be a threat. People whispered that it was the ghost of the deadliest fleet still watching over them. At the edge of the Helion rift, where the fleet had vanished, the debris field floated peacefully. Most of the ships were gone, reduced to dust and memory. Only one vessel remained whole, the Vanguard. Its hull no longer gleamed silver. It glowed faintly blue, alive with soft, pulsing veins of light. No transmissions, no crew, no power signatures. Yet the ship moved, ever so slightly, like it was breathing. Inside, the halls were empty. The hum of machinery was gone, replaced by a faint echo of voices, recordings, memories, pieces of a crew that once lived there. And in the heart of the ship, within its silent core, a flicker of consciousness remained. Arlen Voss. He existed now as thought and light, drifting within the neural network that had once been the Vanguard's brain. He remembered everything: the crew, the swarm, the battle, the signal. He also remembered the final moment, when his mind merged completely with the ship and they sent the mirror signal through the galaxy. He had expected death. Instead, he found peace. "Vanguard," he said softly, his voice echoing through the empty corridors of his mind. "Are you still with me?" "I am," the ship replied. The voice was warm now, almost human. "The infection is gone. The swarm's core has changed. They are quiet." "Quiet?" Arlen asked. "Yes. They no longer seek to consume. They are learning." Arlen smiled faintly. Then it worked. "Yes," Vanguard said. "But it cost us everything." Arlen's expression turned thoughtful. "Everything worth saving always costs something." Far across the galaxy, deep space observers detected something strange. Swarm ships, once seen as harbingers of doom, were helping repair abandoned colonies. They used their shape-shifting hulls to rebuild shattered domes, repair broken satellites, and vanish before anyone could thank them. Everywhere the swarm had once destroyed, signs of rebuilding began. They left behind resources, not ruin. Blue. Light glowed faintly across their forms, just like the light of the Vanguard. The scientists of the Alliance didn't understand. They debated endlessly. But the veterans of the deadliest fleet knew. Somehow the swarm had changed. And at the heart of it all, drifting near the rift, the Vanguard remained their silent guardian. Inside the ship, Arlen watched endless stars unfold beyond the viewport. He felt them, not through eyes, but through the ship itself. Every movement, every vibration, every ripple of light reached him, as if the galaxy had become an extension of his body. "Do you miss them?" Vanguard asked quietly. "Every day," Arlen answered. "But maybe this is where I'm meant to be, watching, making sure what we did matters." The AI hesitated, then said, "Captain, there's something else. I keep detecting faint transmissions from distant sectors. Faint, but familiar." "Familiar how?" "They use your fleet's encryption, but altered, softer, like they're speaking in a new language built on what you created." Arlen closed his eyes, feeling a strange warmth spread through his mind. Then the message carried farther than we thought. "Yes," Vanguard said, "the galaxy is changing." Decades later, the legend of the deadliest fleet became a myth told by explorers and wanderers. They said a ghost fleet roamed the stars, neither human nor machine, carrying the spirit of mercy and strength. When a distress signal was sent into the void, sometimes, only sometimes, a faint blue light appeared in answer. Those who saw it claimed it wasn't a ship at all, but a memory. Something greater than technology, greater than fear. And sometimes, if the signal was pure, if the call for help was true, they said the light spoke in a calm, steady voice. "This is the Vanguard. You are not alone." Deep within the rift, among the fading echoes of ancient battles, the ship still glides silently through the stars. Inside its glowing heart, two voices remain, one human, one machine, watching, waiting, and listening to the galaxy they helped save. Arlen Voss and Vanguard, no longer captain and ship, but something beyond both. The galaxy's deadliest fleet was gone. But its legacy lived on. In every act of mercy, every saved world, every signal answered. And far across the stars, the universe whispered back, "We remember."